Hey everybody, Ben Woolfolk, 12 Rivers Realty, and this is your March 2023 Austin market update. I was a little bit slow getting this one out. Every time that I wanted to hit send, something else wild happened in the financial market. So I'm kind of sitting back and waiting to see how the Federal Reserve is going to react to all of the banking and lending issues that are happening right now. It appears as of right now they're going to hold the course with their interest rate hikes, meaning that they probably won't be raising interest rates, at least not in a large chunk like they had initially said after our first couple jobs reports came out that were very robust, maybe indicating that the Federal Reserve hadn't got inflation really under control like they were intending. But then after um, the banking issues that we've had over the last week or two, I really see them putting any more interest rate hikes on pause or at least making them very gradual. And why we're concerned about that is Austin has become extremely sensitive to interest rate hikes now. And that's due to our affordability. Austin has become so expensive that people are being priced in and out of neighborhoods or their own price points every few weeks when interest rates fluctuate, and they're fluctuating quite a bit over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months. This time last year, interest rates were around 3.5%, and now you're probably 6.5%, 6.75. So if you were approved a couple months ago at 5.5, and then all of a sudden you're at a 6.5, 6.75% interest rate, you probably can't afford the house that you were originally looking at. Um, so we're still getting a lot of good showings. I put a house on the market last week in Onion Creek for 635,000. We got a lot of people through the door. Still great traffic, especially considering it's South by, it's spring break, all of those other distractions right now. We don't have any offers on the property, but we're still getting good traffic, which lets me know it's kind of a leading indicator that buyers are still out there looking in the market. It's just we have to expect longer days on market until interest rates, will hopefully, fingers crossed, come down back into the fives over the next couple months, while the Federal Reserve lets the banking industry kind of get a little bit more stabilized, get their feet back underneath them. But otherwise, Austin's still trucking along. We have, let's see, 7,300 active listings, which is up 462% year over year. Now that's year over year data. A lot of this data that you're going to see, especially from Board of Realtors and maybe some fun national headlines and some clickbait type stuff, but most of real estate's data is year over year, and so they're going to compare that to a very heavy pandemic year up until about June of this year. So you're going to see some pretty staggering differences. But last year and the year before during the pandemic, think about those as outlier years. Artificially low interest rates, people moving, working from home, just a completely different way of living for the past couple of years. And now we're getting back to the pre-pandemic way of living, people going back into work. So really what we're faced with is affordability issues, which are where we have to keep an eye on interest rates. Otherwise, we have good inventory. Austin is still at, let's see, where are we at? 2.7 months of inventory, meaning it's still a heavy seller's market. Now, again, it's nothing like last year where we got down to 0.6, which was basically 2 weeks of inventory. And I remember a couple of times last year, we had 2,000 homes for sale. Now we have 7,323 homes for sale. And we're at about 2.7 months inventory right now and this is January data, so it's a little bit lagging. If you want more up-to-date data, go down to the bottom of the newsletter where I've added the hotness scale. Instead of sold listings, I'll use pending listings. So instead of them going on the market and then going under contract and being sold 30, 45 days ago, these houses might have went on on the market and under contract yesterday or anytime in the last 30 days. So this is the most real-time data that we have. And again, for March, we're at 2.79 months of inventory or absorption rate. Now we know that all pending properties don't close, but this is a pretty good indicator where we're at right now, a good barometer for health. And again, that's at the bottom of the newsletter. So what does all of this mean for buyers, sellers, and tenants? Buyers, you have negotiating power, but you really need to be in touch with your lender. A lender is more important now than I think it's been in a long time. There are a lot of lenders with a lot of different lending products out there. One of my favorites is the 10-year ARM, which, think of it like a 30-year conventional. It's still amortized, or your payment's still spaced out as if it were 30 years, but it's only fixed for 10 years. But for that exact same cost of the 30, you can get about a half a point lower interest rate. And really, most of the houses going under contract with the interest rates as high as they are right now, they're going to be refinanced in the next 2, 3, 4 years. So I'm not really worried about that 10-year kind of ending term versus a 30-year term. I mean, I refinance or cash out refi most of my houses way before 10 years anyway. So if you're a buyer, really, shop your lenders around, find a good lender, find the right product or the best product available. It could bump you back up to that original price point where you were looking. If you're a seller, get creative. I'm putting these terms in my listing remarks when I represent the seller to just let folks know that there are products like these out there, but you still have to expect days on market. We're back in the pandemic years where you put it on and let it go in the first weekend. Our average days on market right now are 47. I know for my Onion Creek listing, I looked for Onion Creek specifically, and you're around 31, 32 days before you get an acceptable offer and go under contract. So expect to not sell it in the first weekend, second weekend, third weekend, even fourth weekend. Also, if you don't have to sell it, if we get to that third weekend, fourth weekend, and you're not, super motivated, don't really need that cash to do something else with, consider also putting it on for lease, or we can put it up for sale and for lease at the exact same time, and maybe price it more aggressively in whatever direction you're going. So if you want to sell, maybe set it a little bit lower price with a higher monthly lease price, or vice versa. If you're a tenant, it's always a pretty good time to buy versus renting if your lifestyle is going to maintain for the next 2, 3 years. I say probably at least 3 years for now, because we're in this kind of market where house prices could adjust and they could be cheaper in the next month or 2 months. They're going to fluctuate a lot over the next 6 months, but given enough time in Austin's history, houses rebound, they come back up, and you'll be money ahead. And right now, you don't have to compete with a bunch of buyers. You don't have to waive your contingencies, your option, your financing, appraisal, that kind of fun stuff. And you don't have to pay large amounts over. And you can sometimes get the seller to pay for even a rate buy down. So you can maybe even get into more of a house if that seller is willing to pay, stuff like a 2-1 rate buy down, or that 10-year ARM, or maybe just buy points off your loan. So as always, real estate is hyper local and hyper price point dependent. The sub 500-600 price point, that's always going to be a good one here in Austin. It's always going to go much faster than, say, a $1.5 million house. But either way, all these scenarios are specific to the buyer and the seller. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Give me a call.